Welcome to the Savvy Dentist podcast with Dr. Jesse Green, the show where great dentistry meets great business. Listen in each week as we bring you an inspiring person who will share their story, ideas and business techniques to help you create a practice and a life you love. And now introducing your host, Dr. Jesse Green.
Hey everyone, it's Jesse Green here. Welcome back to SavvyDentist.com and to another episode of the Savvy Dentist podcast. Now, in this podcast, my whole vision for each of you is to create a practice and a life that you love. And that's going to mean different things to different people, but everything that we do is designed to do that. Now, here at Savvy Dentist, we've been operating our business advisory and mentoring program now for 10 years. And in that time, we've had the opportunity to have a ringside seat to the growth and development of over 1,000 practices. And what we really notice about fast growth practices is there's patterns and there's behaviors and there's repeatable systems in place that are predictable. And so in this episode, I want to talk to you about getting out of the rat race. And specifically, I want to share with you the blueprint to build a dental empire. Ultimately, the whole idea of getting out of the rat race is choice. And from a work point of view, that gives you the opportunity to choose, how much do I work, whether I work at all, what type of work I do, and with whom I work. But in life beyond the practice, it gives you other choices about the experiences you have, the problems that you can solve, whether they're your own problems or problems that other people might be experiencing. So getting out of the rat race, getting out of that financial rat race where you're trading money and time is a really important thing if you want more choice in your life. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about how to get out of that rat race. We're going to give you the blueprint. We're going to give you the step-by-step to do that. Now, getting out of the rat race is something that has been in my ecosystem, in my thoughts, I suppose, for nearly 30 years. And it was first embedded into my brain by an author called Robert Kiyosaki through his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Now, in 1997 or thereabouts when that book was released, it was not a commonly read book. Those sorts of books weren't lining the bookshelves like they are today. There wasn't many books of that genre. And I'm really grateful to Robert Kiyosaki because although I was interested in business before that, it was that book that unlocked a fascination around financial statements. It was that book that unlocked a fascination around building sustainable business. And so it was like the gateway drug for me to learn more and more about how to run a business effectively and well and how to get out of the rat race. As I said, it gives you choice. And we all know that money isn't everything, but it is really important because it's a bit like oxygen. It's hard to live without it. And so in this podcast, in this episode, I want to share with you the framework to get out of the rat race. And I suppose the first step before we get into the framework is to think about, well, what are your goals? What does getting out of the rat race mean for you? So we really talk about three levels of financial security. There's your basic level, I suppose your intermediate level, and I suppose an ideal level. The basic level is where your living expenses are covered. So whether it's your food, your groceries, your utilities, mortgage if you have a mortgage, and then all those other kind of day-to-day essentials. The intermediate level is where you've got all of those basics covered, plus you've made an allowance for a pretty good life, right? It's great. You can travel a bit. You can buy a new car every couple of years. You can do this. You can do that. And then your ideal lifestyle is really when you're living life on your terms from a financial point of view. It gives you ultimate financial freedom. And so getting clear on what that means for each of you is really, really important because if we don't know where we're trying to aim, we're going to end up kind of somewhere in between or nowhere at all, right? You've got to know what your goals are. So step number one is to know your goals. But really, once we've got clarity about the goal, we need to align our thinking, align our resources, align our energy to achieving that goal. And one of the things I'd encourage you as you set that goal is to dare to dream bigger. And one of the things I see, which breaks my heart, is people settling for things that they could have done a whole lot better for. And one of the things that we talk about here at Savvy Dentist is getting stuck in the oasis where you kind of get to a mediocre level of success and you don't push yourself or extend yourself beyond that because, it's just comfortable. And if that's you, I suppose, if that's you and you love that, fine. But what I see is untapped potential. And one of my drivers in life is to try and achieve all the things that I am humanly capable of. And sometimes, I think, am I ever going to achieve that? And sometimes I get there and other times I'm still climbing up the mountain trying to achieve that. But I really think that one of the things about humans is we like to grow. We like to test ourselves. And of course, we can grow and test ourselves in lots of different areas. But in the business sense, we measure that usually with a financial scorecard. So if you want to set goals that excite you, set goals that stretch you, set goals that really get your juices flowing, your blood flowing, so you can align that energy and your resources to it. So when it comes to creating a business and a life you love and a dental empire, and again, we've worked with lots of people who have done this, people who have scaled their practices, which is what we're known for, whether it's having one large practice or multiple practices. We've helped people 10x their revenue. We've helped people do everything up to that and beyond that, and really create an immense amount of wealth. And that's really the sort of freedom that they're now enjoying. But there's kind of commonalities, and success leaves clues, as the saying says. And what we've done is we've decoded all of that and we've turned that into what we call the plan. It's not the most imaginative title, but it is descriptive to say the least. And so when it comes to understanding what the plan is, the principles remain the same. No matter what your financial objectives are, the financial systems, the financial structures remain the same. So we need 4 key financial systems. So the first key financial system is really the revenue generation system. And what I mean by that is we've got to have predictable, reliable revenue that is systemized. And the way that we do that is to reverse engineer our outcomes, which is why I want you to have clarity about your goals. And what we're really looking for is predictability. I want to give you confidence that if you follow this system, that you're going to achieve your financial outcomes. So what that means is we want to have revenue that is ever growing. We're confident that we're going to hit our targets, January, February, all the way through to December every single year. And so what that really means is we need to operationalize the things that contribute to revenue generation. So we need to operationalize our marketing. We need to operationalize our patient acquisition system. We need to operationalize our patient retention system. Same with our reactivation processes as well. We need to operationalize our sales process or our case acceptance processes. We need to have a system for doing that is repeatable and transferable across the practice, because all of these things go into creating reliable and predictable revenue. And that's the key there, is the reliability and the predictability. Now, the other thing we need to operationalize from a revenue point of view is our scheduling system. And we've got to make sure we're using our time effectively. We all know that different times of the day attract different values, and yet we kind of treat it all the same. Equally, we know that an hour of hygiene time or therapy time doesn't carry the same value as an hour of dentist time. But here's something to consider as well. Maybe you want to toy with this idea or not, but an hour of your time as the practice owner probably is more valuable than an hour of your associate's time as well. So again, do you have differential pricing structures? Again, that's something for you to consider as you operationalize your revenue generation. So the big idea here is to have your clear revenue targets in place and to be able to reverse engineer those so that you are really confident on a day-to-day basis that you're going to hit that mark every single time. That's the big idea. So that's the first key financial system you need, is revenue generation. The second system that we need is cash flow maximization, because as we know, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Businesses don't go out of business because of a lack of revenue. They go out of business because of a lack of cash flow. And the reason that occurs is because cash flow is the oxygen that keeps the business alive. Now, one of the things that I see in lots of different places is, business owners, dentists included, talking heavily about their revenue, celebrating their revenue milestones, which again is great and wonderful. But I always wonder about what's left over, what hits the bottom line. And we all know that profit is a number that gets manipulated through your tax planning and tax strategies to minimize that number. And so you're not paying more tax than you need to be. But cash flow is that real money in, real money out kind of exercise. Now, that's a very, very important thing because it is how you're going to fund your growth. It's going to how you pay. It's going to be how you pay for your commitments, whether it be your rent at your premises, your wages bill, or your supplies bill. You need to have that cash flow there, because if you're not collecting the money, if you're not keeping the money, you go out of business really quickly. We know that dentistry is a big money in, big money out kind of business, so we need to have very stringent processes for managing cash flow. Now, when it comes to cash flow, as I said, there's kind of a focus on revenue too much. And revenue is one of the levers that we have when we're trying to increase cash flow, for sure. But there are 5 other levers that we really need to talk about. So Just really quickly on the revenue, I spoke about having that reliable, predictable revenue system. But if we want to tweak that further, there's kind of 3 other levers in revenue that we can play with. We can either increase the number of patients that we see, increase the frequency with which we see them, or increase the average transaction size. So again, you've got some levers to play in the revenue area as well. But getting to the other 5 facets of cash flow management, the first one is we've got to manage our cost of goods sold. And we've got to manage that effectively and well. And similarly, we've got to manage our operational expenses. So the 2 types of expenses you see on your P&L will be your cost of goods and your operational expenses. So you've got to manage those very well, very carefully, spend what's required, don't waste money, plug leaks in your finances, and turn those taps pretty tight to make sure you're spending money in the right areas and not wasting money in the wrong areas. Now, some of the things that come back to that is subscriptions and different things that, typically just little leaks, but those little leaks add up to torrents later. Now, when it comes to cash flow, there are other levers to pull. The first one is accounts receivable. You want to get your money in. If you are owed money, you got to collect it, right? Because money loves speed. Getting money in quickly is very, very important. So if you are owed money, make sure you collect it. Now, accounts payable is the other thing where it's paying money out. So the philosophy of cash flow management is to get your money in quickly and pay it out slowly. Now, just to be clear, I am not for one moment suggesting you do not pay your bills. You absolutely have to pay your bills. That's very, very important, and it's critical because we want our vendors to remain in business and we want to be a good customer, because here's the thing. If we're good customers in other businesses, our customers will be good to us as well. One of the things I notice on various Facebook forums is that dentists often complain about poor behavior from patients. And when I see people in industry, sometimes those same dentists are not behaving as they'd like their customers to behave. So maybe model that behavior yourself. So make sure you pay your bills in a timely way. But if you do get given 7 days or 14 days or 13 days, you're well within your rights to use that time. And the third part of the balance sheet, because accounts receivable and accounts payable live on the balance sheet. And the third thing that lives on the balance sheet, the final lever of cash flow, is your inventory days. It's really important to understand that stock that is sitting in your cupboard that is yet to be used represents money spent that has not been converted into income yet. And so it's a latent asset. And what we want to be able to do is to take that asset and turn it into money. What I notice is when I go into practices, I see lots of wasted materials, often wasted equipment too. It's not uncommon to see a scanner sitting in the corner gathering dust or whatever it is. So if you've got things that you don't use, sell them, get them out the door. But if you use them, right? But one of the things I notice is, particularly around inventory management, is really inefficient practices there. And so the most profitable airline, or one of the most profitable airlines in the world, is Southwest. And that's because they have a philosophy that a plane on the ground makes no money. And so what they do is they have one type of aircraft. And what that means is one type of tooling, one type of training, one type of cabin crew training, or one type of pilot training, one type of everything, right? And they also trained their baggage handlers to get the bags on and off the planes as quickly as possible, much like an F1 crew would get that car out of the pits and onto the track really quickly. The baggage crew do that job so quickly, so efficiently, so the plane can get wheels up and get going again. Now, what does that have to do with dentistry? Well, the one type of aircraft is really important part of their philosophy. And yet in dentistry, I see practices with 4 different composite systems, 5 different bonding systems. And what happens is they get used infrequently. Often they expire and it's a waste of money. It's not being converted back into cash flow quickly. So we've got to take that inventory and convert it into money really quickly. And so what that means is having a restricted menu of materials. Now, use the best materials, use the materials you love, but I'm not yet convinced that you need to have 4 bonding systems. I'm not convinced you need to have 5 composites. I'm just not convinced of that. And so for most practices, you could streamline your inventory management a lot better and make sure your cash flow is stronger. So that's the second big thing, is effective practice owners, the ones that really go on to scale, the ones that get out of the rat race, the ones that build empires, are really good at managing cash flow. Now, that sounds unpopular. It sounds a bit mundane, but I remember before COVID, there was a couple of practice owners, out in social media celebrating the milestones they'd made with their revenue, which is great, and we're all cheering them on. But as COVID hit, what we noticed is those same practices were struggling. Some of them were worried they were going to go broke, and it's because they didn't manage cash flow. Now, the other thing they didn't manage on top of cash flow was their money management system, which is the third financial system that we need to have in place. And in essence, what that really looks like is just allocating money for different contingencies. So for me, I love the idea of a rainy day bank account. I love the idea of having money put aside in case of a problem, or COVID, or whatever it happens to be, so that if it rains, you're covered, right? That's the whole idea of a rainy day bank account. And so, how much money to have in that account? Well, some would say 3 months. I prefer 6 or more because I'm just a bit of a safety Sam kind of fella. So I like to have at least 6 months of operational expenses covered in my rainy day bank account. And now you choose the right amount for you, but you've got to have some money put aside. And that's why I think those practices, when COVID came around, really struggled because they didn't have money set aside for contingency. Really, really, really important. Now, the other things you should put money aside for, of course, are future capital expenditure. If you're looking to invest in new equipment, put the money aside. Put it aside so you've got it. Now, whether you choose to pay cash or take out some sort of loan or lease or whatever it is, that's up to you. But definitely put money aside for future capital expenditure. Put money aside for tax and other, staff-related entitlements, whether it's superannuation or whatever it is. Put money aside for that because it's not really yours, right? And then, most importantly, put money aside in a wealth creation account. We call that a profit account, whatever you want to call it, but put that money aside for future wealth creation. And that's really key. So when you're factoring in how much money you need to produce with your income, the revenue generation system we spoke about at the beginning, you got to factor in some extra for wealth creation as well. And so your wealth creation system is the fourth financial system. Many, many years ago when I was a young dentist in the Navy, I had lots of good mentors. And even to this day, I'm very lucky to be the recipient of some great mentorship from typically older guys that have taken an interest in my well-being. And I'm grateful to them. And in the early days, one of them, a guy called Peter Bry Mills, shared with me his financial bucket system. And it was the same system that I learned again later from a guy called Mike Kemp, who is the wealth creation coach here at Savvy Dentist, and he is the former chief investment officer at Barefoot Investor. He's a financial whiz kid. He knows numbers upside down and inside out, and on top of that, he's a periodontist by training. So he's had these dual careers. But Mike and Peter both shared with me the same system, and it's called the 4 buckets. And what that really means is you want to have your money that you earn, you want to then save that money, you want to invest that money, and then ultimately enjoy that money. So over the course of my life, I've developed this discipline of saving money and investing money. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I don't have a financial services license. So I'm not going to tell you what to invest in, whether you're investing in shares or real estate or whatever. You can get other people to give you that advice. But the idea is you quarantine that money up front. And if you know what your return is over time on average, you can really reliably predict where you're going to be from a wealth creation point of view at a particular point in time. Now, the reason that's important is because it's very, very important to have wealth created outside of the practice, because if you have that, you create financial independence outside of dentistry. If you have an income coming to you from your investment assets in addition to your dental income, again, that increases your choice level. You can choose very clearly. Do I want to do dentistry? No. Or yes, great. Do I want to just do a certain number of days a week? Yes, no, great. Do I want to do a certain type of procedure and ignore everything else? Great. Do I want to work with a certain type of clientele? Great. Whatever it is for you, you have choice, you have flexibility. And equally, it gives you the opportunity to help other people. It gives you the opportunity to solve problems. It gives you the opportunity to create experiences for you and your family and your loved ones, right? The people you care about. And so I really believe that business can and must be a force for good. So getting that cup full gives you those opportunities to do good in the world. It's very hard to do good if your own cup is not full. So the fourth system around wealth creation is really, really important. And it's simple, but not easy. And it's about understanding what your financial objectives are and working backwards. Again, a bit more financial maths involved here. And so it's about understanding the time value of money. So when I was younger, it's nearly 20 years ago now, I started studying a Masters of Business, and I had dreams of becoming a property developer. So I was studying business, property valuation, I should say. And I didn't complete that degree, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But what I did learn out of that was financial mathematics. And financial mathematics is a really good skill to have. So if you're interested, go and learn how to do those calculations, because what that'll tell you is how much do I need to invest every single month over a period of time to to make sure I've accumulated enough investment assets outside of my house, outside of my practice, so that I can live off that pool of income. And so, back to the degree I was doing, I didn't complete that degree for two reasons. One, and the most important one, was that at the time, I didn't feel like it was going to be directly applicable to what I wanted to do in my life. It was interesting academically, but it didn't feel like it was real world kind of learning. But that said, the mathematics part of that, incredibly valuable. And the second key reason was I'd had a young child at the time and I wanted to spend some time there. So getting your wealth creation system is really, really important. And if you can put that on autopilot, if you can make that easy, make sure that you have that sorted for yourself, you're going to be in a situation where you can have that choice that I keep talking about. And that's ultimately what it's about. Now, we've spoken a lot about money and we've spoken a lot about having these systems in place. And as I said, every single successful practice owner that I work with has these 4 systems in place. It takes time to put them in place. It takes patience to put them in place, and it takes discipline to put them in place. What you can expect, though, when you get this right, is A, your revenue will go up, B, your take-home pay will go up, C, your peace of mind will go up, and D, your ability to create wealth will absolutely exponentially increase. You'll make quantum leaps in your wealth. Now, this is really, really important. And as I said, every single practice owner that I've worked with that's gotten out of the rat race by building their dental empire has done this. The second piece of this puzzle, though, is about creating time, and that really is where we think about leverage. And if you were to look at life, your financial life is one element of your life. And yes, as I said, it gives you choice. But the other thing that you need is time. Having free time is the ultimate flex. And when we work with practice owners, our whole goal is to allow them to earn more and work less, whatever that means for them, because that's their choice, right? But for me, hearing people making lots of money is great, and I'm, cheering them on. But for me, the ultimate flex is if they're doing that and they have free time. And then that's really cool. Now, the way to do that, of course, is to install leverage in your practice. If you look at creating time through leverage, what that gives you the opportunity is to spend time on your relationships, time on your health, time on your family and friends, time on your hobbies, time in your spiritual life, whatever it is that's important to you that requires time, we need to create it. Because here's the thing, too many dentists sacrifice their life for money. Too many dentists settle for that. Too many dentists feel like that's all that they've got. That's all they can do. I'm a dentist. They're thinking like a dentist rather than a business owner or even an entrepreneur. And what that really means is they settle for a life that's okay, but they've settled for something when they could have had a whole lot more. And I kind of find that a bit heartbreaking and sad. So as I said at the beginning, my hope for you is you'll dare to dream bigger dreams. You'll dare to think of the greatest thing you'd really like and to actually strive for what you want rather than what you think is possible. Because what I notice is those that strive for what they really want will get it anyway. And those that strive for what they think is possible will get it anyway. And so you might as well aim for where you really want to go. But when it comes to creating leverage, of course, leverage comes by having a wonderful team that is self-managing, a self-directed, self-managing team that knows what to do, they know how to do it, and the culture is such that they have the internal drive to do it. And what that means is when you have a team that knows what to do, how to do it, and is driven enough to do it, you don't need to micromanage. You don't need to be the control freak. You don't need to listen to every phone conversation. You don't need to be across everything because they're operating like you would as a business owner. Now, yes, you do need your systems and processes documented. Yes, you need to show them how to be successful in their role. Yes, you still need to lead the team. Yes, you need to do all those things. And I've got a client that comes to mind that when we shared this with her, she went from taking home about $300,000 a year to taking home, this is not revenue, taking home well over $1 million, about 1.1, 1.2. But concurrently, she cut her working days down from about 185, 186 days a year down to 65 days a year. And it came back to putting in place those 4 financial systems and now installing the leverage piece as well. And what that's given her is choice, flexibility, and freedom. Now, she's gone on to do more than that again, But at the time, that was a major coup for her. And I think it was certainly a worthy goal for many dentists listening to this podcast. So again, if you want to build a dental empire, if you want to get out of the rat race, if you want to create freedom in your life so you're not trading money and time and feeling burnt out, stressed out, or if you feel like you're working hard but the bank account doesn't really reflect that, then really think about these 4 financial systems firstly, and then secondly, think about how we install more leverage so you can get ever more from ever less in your business so you earn more, work less, create a practice that you love, create a life that you love, and create a life for others to love too. So I hope you find that episode helpful. Look forward to seeing you on the next one, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Dentist podcast. For more episodes, go to drjessiegreen.com/savvydentist. And to discover how to build a high-performance dental practice, visit drjessiegreen.com and download the free report.